Hey, it's Brett Morton. I want to say hi to you. And I want to show you something here that I call tree trunk sales. Years and years and years ago, I was on the phone telemarketing, and it dawned on me that what I was doing differently than most of the people in the room with me in the mortgage industry was that I was comprising information. Now watch this. This is important when you're dealing with a business owner. It doesn't matter whether you're telemarketing, and it doesn't matter whether you're in person. It doesn't matter if you're at a Chamber of Commerce meeting or Rotary meeting. Hell, it doesn't matter if you run into them in a parking garage and they start asking you questions and start talking about a loan. At some point, right here, you're going to get a name of the person and business. Hopefully you can all see that. So I like to write that name right in there in my mind. The name of the person or the name of the business or both. Now where it really becomes important is when you start to gather information. Watch this. This is supposed to be a tree trunk right here, by the way, with roots. Pardon my art. One thing I'm not is an artist when it comes to drawing. But anyway, you'll get the point here in a minute. Now watch. Let's say that this is a pine tree of some sort. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a branch on there. When the business owner mentions, I've got poor credit. Okay. But then what you're going to want to do is find the sub-reasons, the reasons why they have poor credit. And those reasons go from the branch right here, which is the poor credit branch, to a pine needle, which is we had a death. Our son died of cancer. Now, we had another pine needle here when the business owner, let's say in this case, the husband says about his wife in the traditional hetero marriage, what do they call it? The nuclear marriage years ago. We've gone away from that. But anyway, for visual sake, for example's sake, let's say he talks about poor credit, which is the branch. He talks about a pine needle here, which is the death of the son. We talks about another pine needle here, which happens to be that his wife had a breakdown. Now, with each passing bit of information regarding poor credit here, you would add another pine needle on here, on this branch. The branch being poor credit, the name or the trunk being the name of the client, and the name of the person's business. Okay, so we've got the poor credit branch. We're going to have other branches in a minute here. Not yet. Don't get there. Just watch, okay? If we're talking about the poor credit branch, he's sharing information with us about his death of his son with cancer. The word cancer should be in here. Sorry about the spelling and such. And then the wife had a breakdown, which caused them, here's another needle right here, not to pay bills on time. Because there's another needle. She wasn't working. Let's add another needle right here. And we'll go down here to this. And he took time off also. So that's the reason for poor credit. So now you know all this information. You know they have poor credit. First off, you know the name of their business, the name of themselves, right here. That's the trunk. You know this branch right here is in regards to poor credit. Death to the son is what's caused it. Regarding cancer. Wife had a breakdown. They didn't pay the bills on time because she wasn't working and he took time off also. Now you're done. Back off that branch and maybe at some point a dog barks in the background and there's another branch and you ask the question, what kind of dog do you have? That's a whole new branch right here. There it is. Dog, pine needle, right here. What kind of dog do you have? Oh, we have a Cocker, shit, I can't spell it, sorry. Cocker Spaniel. Okay? And then me, I grew up with Cocker Spaniel when I was a little kid, so I make a comment back, you know, another pine over here. Oh, we had a Cocker Spaniel also. So what we're doing here is all this information being shared among one another creates an environment where they're never going to share this information with other people because people are not extracting this information out of them like I do. Now we get done with the dog. You know, I might toss in here that Copper, our dog's name. Let's make the branch longer. And we put this out here and I say, our dog's name was Copper. She was brown. And he says, our dog is named Blackie. He's black, okay? We're sharing that common ground. We're sharing that information that two people share in a conversation that becomes almost hallowed ground. Think about it. And other salespeople don't give a shit. All they care about is wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Hell, they don't even put on a condom. Excuse my French here. Excuse me being rude or crude. But this is, for all intents and purposes, your foreplay here. You learn their name. You learn the name of their business. You learn about this branch here out on this tree trunk, their poor credit. You learn about the death of their son and the fact that he had cancer. Hell, we might even put another needle out here that he was 14 years old. Okay, we learned that. We learned the wife has had a breakdown. They were not able to pay back the bills. She wasn't working. He had taken time off also. Okay, so when we're done with this branch, all of a sudden we look for another branch. In this case, I hear a dog barking, as I mentioned earlier. What kind of dog do you have? Oh, we have a Cocker Spaniel. Oh, no kidding, we had a Cocker Spaniel too. And the dog's name was Copper. Now, one of the things that Copper always did when we were kids, let's add another branch here. I'm sorry, a pine needle. And let's go down here with an arrow. And on this pine needle, it used to jump out of the boat and swim around the boat when it got hot. You see, you're sharing this information. It's like showing someone your cards in a card game. You show them your cards, they'll show you their cards. Oh, you're kidding me, my God. Our dog used to swim like a fish. Those doggone Cocker Spaniels, they just love to swim. Look at this information. I know it's a mess, but let's add another branch here. We get done, and then I mention, do you have any other children? Yeah, I do. I have a daughter. Oh, no kidding. I've got a daughter myself, if you've got a daughter. So there's that leaf, or in this case, the pine needle right out there. I've got a daughter. And then you say, oh, no kidding, here you add a pine needle. Oh, no kidding, I've got a daughter too. She's 19, just got done with her first year in college. And he chimes in with his pine needle and on that branch regarding his daughter. And he says, oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. My daughter's 20. She just got done with her second year of college. This is massive information, okay? Because now what they're buying from you isn't really a loan. What they're buying from you is this confidential conversation as a whole that friends would share with one another. Yet, interestingly enough, I would venture to say a lot of friends, if you keep going here and add another branch, we could say something like, we had some, what do we type in here? Trouble with our daughter the first year. That's the branch. Oh, you did. We did also. And then I chime in and I go, well, what happened to you? He goes, oh, add that pine needle. My daughter got caught in a theft environment. She stole a shirt from the bookstore. Well, she was paying the tuition, okay? And you add another branch over here. Hell, we gotta go over here. Let's go over here, and let's make another tree, trunk, name. All right, we're down here to the bookstore, and at the bookstore, his daughter's been through theft. And let's say it was freshman year, okay? I mean, look at all this information here you're gathering. And you can gather it in no time. And then I say, I had a pine needle right here. And I say, well, you wouldn't believe it, but my daughter got caught with theft also. Also, she stole a $47 math book. Not an uncommon thing, by the way, when you're in your freshman, sophomore, junior year of high school. These math books cost a ton. And what a lot of people don't know about these books is you can return these books at the bookstore without a receipt, get cash, and now you got your drug money, your alcohol money, your food money, your clothing money, this type of stuff that kids have going on in their lives. And the two of you are laughing about the similarities of your daughters. And then, at this point, maybe he makes the comment to you, gosh, you seem really nice. I hear that a lot. That's a branch. And that's a needle. A needle is, the branches, you seem real nice. I like the fact you're sharing with me personal information. I'm going to abbreviate that, ... information. I hear that all the time. And then I make the comment back. I say, it's a pleasure to get to know you. You seem like a real nice person also. I appreciate you sharing the private information with me. And that's when he'll say something, she'll say something else, maybe in closing, hey, by the way, regarding our poor credit, I just want to let you know that we're back on track. And then you might add a needle in here. Have you tried to get a loan from the bank? And he makes a comment to you. We get another needle here. We go out around with that needle, and he says, yes, but we got denied. And that's when you draw that needle here, that branch here. I draw that branch here that says, oh, that's okay. And then down here, put a needle on it. We don't care about bad credit. Now, he may say to you at this point, let's go over here since I've made such a mess out of this, and we'll draw another tree trunk. He may say, she may say, they may say to you at that point, well, let's put name in here again, and our roots down here. And he may say to you, how do you, that's a question mark. That's the branch. The question, how do you folks grade these files if you don't use a credit report? And then you put a little pine needle on there. We use your last 6 months bank statements. Now, I can tell you this is a vital piece of information here. But the thing is, usually people are saying that in the first 10 seconds on the call, 5 seconds on the call. They want to have sex right away without any lubricant, without any foreplay. They just, my name is Brett Martin. I specialize in unsecured working capital businesses up to $1 million, closing loans 1 Tuesdays, oftentimes same day as the application. And what we need out of you in order to qualify is we need 6-month bank statements. You can't stay on your side of the net like volleyball or table tennis or ping pong, like I mentioned before many times in my classes, and just keep hitting the ball. I mean, at some point, they're going to be like, God, pass the joint. Quit bogarting the joint. That was a term we used back in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. Stop bogarting the joint. Give it to me. See, because in all honesty, they want to talk. They want to add these branches to their name, to their business name, about their business name. Exclamation point here. Exclamation point. We're a wonderful company. So they say that to you. We're a wonderful company. We work with vets. Oh, no kidding. Can you elaborate? They give you another needle. Yeah, we work with PTSD vets and another needle. And down here, that needle on that branch, we're a wonderful company. We work with vets who have post-traumatic stress disorder. And then they say, we've got 107 cabins on 69 acres. So they're telling you this story. They're telling you this information. How by the time you get done, you can actually almost write in the word book right here. And these could be your chapters, these branches, and the needles coming off could be your pages in that chapter. You see? And pretty soon, you have enough information here that they've shared with you. I mean, by now you know that they have poor credit, the death of a son at 14. These are things I remember. These are things you remember. Dog, swimming, copper, Blackie, okay? Theft, the two daughters have a similarity from the standpoint, one's a second year in college, she's 19, or 20, the other's 19, first year in college. One stole a shirt here, okay? The other daughter stole a book, I think that's over here, yeah. My daughter stole a math book and returned it to get some money for beer. And then, we could add another branch here, and she got caught drinking. Now, this is information that they're not going to share with everybody because most people don't take the time to get in their brain. All right, so what you want to do is you want to start off just with a mindset, this entire thing ends up being tree trunk sales before you even start. And then what you're going to do is you're going to visualize a tree trunk. Could be an oak tree, could be an aspen, could be a redwood, could be a maple tree. It doesn't matter. You visualize the tree. And rather than maybe pine needles out here, you're going to add leaves. It doesn't matter. But the bottom line is, once you get a name, or if you have a name already, you go in with a name from something like Reference USA or Reference Solutions, once you yard out or pull out that information or extract that information as to why they got poor credit, you're off and running regarding their dead son that died of cancer, and he was 14 years old, and you're like, oh my gosh, that must have really been hard on the family. Yeah, my wife had a breakdown. And quite frankly, I had to take some time off also. And we just couldn't pay the bills. I mean, see, once they start puking on you, they don't stop puking on you. So what you do is you just run around with a bucket underneath and you're catching the puke. The puke being the story. All this information. And at the end of the day, you're on the phone, 10, 15 minutes with these people. And this is something each and every one of you can talk about. You've all had situations like this with your family and friends. And interestingly enough, you had to do very little talking about loans. You had to do very little talking, if anything, about interest rates. Think about that. People ask me all the time, how can you be on the phone with this person for 45 minutes? This is what I'm doing. I'm gathering all this information, understanding there's no other telemarketer in the United States or outside the country for that matter that is gathering all this information. And there's no other business owner sharing all this information. So you've got them. They're yours. You don't have to sell them anything. This is a common denominator for me, is right in here, we're not talking about loans. We're not talking about interest rates. We're talking about our lives. We're talking about our lives. And then she says to you, he says to you, they say to you, I'm interested. 2 words, end of story. Okay, no problem, Mike. You know his name, Mike Carlson. No problem, Mr. Carlson, or no problem, Mike. All I need out of you is 6 months business, bank statements, and the application filled out, and your email address, and I'll email it right over to you, and we'll have an answer for you today. Now, I know I beat this up, folks, but I can tell you right now, there really is no chronological order to this thing for me. I'm all over the place here. But believe me, when you look at this, I'm all over the place with the business owner. But I'm really not. We're just talking about life on life's terms and our story of our life. Maybe it is chapters with pages on it. Maybe it is a tree trunk with branches and pine needles, or a tree trunk with, branches and leaves on it, like a lace leaf maple or a maple tree or an oak tree, But keep this in mind, give it a try, operate with that tree trunk mindset, tree trunk sale mindset, have the trunk in mind. You can have the name already. All you have to do is go online and get it from Reference Solutions. That's day 3 of 4. Day 3 of 4. Day 3 of 4. I train on Reference Solutions where you can get it at your library for free. So you know the name of the company when you call. You know the name of the business. You know the name of the person. And you just say, is Mike there? In this case, because remember, this is, if I recall right, I named the guy Mike. I don't have to say if I recall right. I remember his name was Mike Carlson. And I just say, is Mike there? Or, hey, grab Mike for me, quick. And they grab Mike for me. And, hey, Mike, Brett Martin here. I'm with Mom and Pop Business Funding. Company I represent specializes in unsecured working capital for business owners who go up to $1 million, close these loans 1 to 2 days, oftentimes the same day as the application. Simply calling today to see if I can leave my information with you, and that way you have it in the future if you ever need any working capital. Well, shit, what do I got to do to get started? Well, I just need the standard information out of you. Well, before I start, I got to mention something to you, Brett. I got poor credit, and here we go. There's the branch. And I say, well, what caused the poor credit, Mike? And then the long hesitation, that usually tells you something's wrong. And then he comes clean and says, well, our son died. He was only 14 years old. He had cancer. He fought it for 3 years. You could put that branch out here, or that pine needle out here, 3 years. All that information is hallowed ground, as I mentioned earlier, and they're not going to share it with just anyone. So anyway, hopefully that helps some of you in regards to, a method or a methodology that I use. I think that, if you go back and look at, I think it was Rockefeller, if I recall right, not Rothschild, but Rockefeller, who was said to have had the greatest Rolodex of all time. Many of you don't know what a Rolodex is. That was many years ago. I'm aging myself, but this is my Rolodex. All this information is my Rolodex right here on this gentleman's business by the name of Mike Carlson. And believe me, when I get off the phone, this is something that really, really inspired my ex-wife and inspires my current wife of almost 18 years now is, how is it that you can go to a party, Brett, and how is it that you can get all this information from this guy named Mike, and all this information from this lady named Jill, and all this information from this lady named Susan, and all this information from this guy named Jeff? And it's like, because I take the time, even when I'm not doing tree trunk sales, I'm doing what I would call tree trunk come together. Tree trunk link, where I'm linking us together. So I've got I get their name. Her name's Jill. His name's Jeff. His name's Bill. Her name's Susan. And I can go home and tell my wife all these little branches, or all these little leaves about Jill, all these little leaves about Jeff, all these little leaves about Bill, all these little leaves about Susan, which involves cancer, a truck that rolled, a job loss, a father who committed suicide, someone who lost their license as an insurance agent or a realtor. I mean, Jill lost her license. Jeff rolled his 18-wheeler in the ice and lost his job. Bill's wife committed suicide due to the fact that their daughter committed suicide and didn't leave a note, but his wife did leave a note, and he tells me all about the note, and Susan just got married. I mean, think how many times you can go to a wedding and you can extract all this information. But look, if you're in your head and you're an introvert, and you're not bringing that extroverted self out, and you're not saying to yourself, God, I don't want to just stand here for the next 2.5 hours at this wedding and go home and at the end of the day say to myself, good God, I hate weddings. I mean, I like to work a wedding. I like to be part of the wedding. Do a little dancing, do a little cake eating, get some pictures on my phone of them, putting the cake in their face, and have a good time. What good is a life that is a life where you haven't spent some time or invested some time in what's going on that day? So anyway, give this a try. See what you think of it. Tree trunk sales. That's a good enough it's an explanation. I don't know how good the explanation is, but anyway, sorry for being upside down, everyone. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye now.